Funny, isn't it? The world moves on. The clocks keep ticking, and people pretend nothing happened, as if those who broke you simply evaporated, as if your pain didn't leave a crater where your soul used to be. Have you ever sat in a dark room and felt that darkness is the only thing that truly understands you? No fake smiles, no empty hopes, just raw, bitter silence. You see, being broken once leaves a scar, not a wound. Wounds heal, but scars, they whisper forever. And tonight I'm here to remind you of something very simple. They broke you once, but never again. Part 1. The dangerous power of silence. People have this dirty habit of underestimating silence. They think that if you're not yelling, if you're not fighting back, if you're not bleeding out loud, then you're weak. But silence is dangerous. It's where monsters are born, forged, and sharpened. This is where you live now, right? That quiet corner of the world where no one sees what you're holding inside. They call it peace. I call it survival. Because when the storm ripped you open, everyone watched, didn't they? Some even smiled. And you still believed them. You still held on. Naive, but beautiful. I respect that. It takes courage to still care after you've been crushed. But let me tell you a little secret. Caring doesn't keep you alive. The cold does. Part 2. The dissection of trust. They didn't just hurt you. Oh no, they dissected your trust with a smile. They shattered your kindness as if it were weakness. And you stood there, trembling but quiet. You thought they would come back to fix what they broke. But no one comes back to clean up the mess they made in another person's soul. They move on, light as a feather, as if you were just a side mission in their little game. And you carry the rubble, the echoes, the memories you can't erase. Have you ever tried to sleep with a memory screaming in your head like a siren? It's a nightmare that never ends. But here's the twist: you survive. Most people crumble once and that's it. Game over. They break and stay broken. But not you. You're still here, breathing, maybe bleeding, but still standing. And that makes you terrifying.
Part 3. Pain as a teacher. Look, you're no longer the person who was hurt. You're the one who learned from the pain. And pain is a damned teacher. It doesn't lie. It doesn't pretend. It shows you the truth you refused to see. You trusted the wrong people. You gave them chances like candy, and they chewed up your loyalty as if it were disposable. But here's the truth. It's not your fault for caring. It's their curse that they didn't reciprocate. You know what's poetic? They thought breaking you would make you quiet, but it made you smarter, colder, stronger. They thought you would chase after them, that you would beg, that you would shrink. But now you are the storm. You are no longer that gentle soul who waited for apologies that never came. You are the silence that terrifies them. Part 4. Reconstruction with stone and fire. You are proof that people can burn and rise from their own ashes without begging for water. Don't you dare forget who you've become. Never let them fool you into thinking your gentleness was stupidity. No, it was proof that even angels can walk through hell and not lose their wings. They broke you once. So what? Everyone breaks. But you rebuilt yourself with stone. You rebuilt yourself with fire in your ribs and steel in your eyes. You don't need revenge. You are revenge. Because nothing hurts them more than seeing you walk past them as if they never mattered. That's power. Real power. No noise, no screams, just detachment. You don't care anymore. And that's your shield. Part 5. The night that changed everything. I remember that night like it was yesterday. The sky didn't seem right. Have you ever looked up and felt like even the stars are turning their backs on you? I was sitting there, not talking, not thinking, just feeling. And you know what I felt? Nothing. Not even the cold on my skin, not even the pain in my chest, not even the damn weight of everything I abandoned for people who disappeared the moment I fell. They love you when you're on top, but when you fall, when your hands tremble and your heart begs for a reason to stay, that's when the crowd goes quiet. That's when the masks fall. That's when you see what's real and who isn't.
Part 6. The Silent Breaking. Let me tell you something real and raw. You were broken once. I saw it. And it wasn't a dramatic fall with music and screams. It was quiet. That silent kind of breaking, where you still smile in public, still laugh at the right jokes, but inside, you're dead. They tore you apart in silence. And the worst part? You let them. You gave love, loyalty, honesty, all those heavy things, and they carried them off like they were disposable. You gave them gold, and they sold it for crumbs. Now you're here, angry, lost, confused, telling yourself you're okay. But you're not, and that's okay. Because broken isn't the end, it's the beginning. Part 7. The Coin of Pain. Let me break this down logically for you. Let's say pain is a currency. You gave yours away for free. Every tear, every sleepless night, every unanswered message, that's value. And they wasted it. So now, you charge for it. You protect. Your energy is priceless. Your time is selective. Your love is earned, not handed out like a flyer to the wind. People treat you as you let them. You taught them to walk all over you when you stayed quiet after disrespect. You taught them you'd forgive anything. You taught them you'd always be there. Then they stopped trying. You ceased to exist in their minds as a person. You became a resource, a gas station, a therapist, a punching bag. But not anymore. That chapter is over. Burn it. Part 8. The Death of the Old Me. Write the new in fire and silence. Be the one who says less and builds more. They call you insensitive? So what? They say you've changed? Great. They miss the old you? Of course they do. It was easy to use. That old version of you bled for people who wouldn't even spit water if you were on fire. That version died in silence. Now this version doesn't beg, doesn't explain, doesn't need a crowd. It becomes the storm. I know it hurts. I know that some nights the silence is so loud it feels like it's screaming at you. You relive every word, every lie, every broken promise. And you want closure. But closure isn't real. You close it yourself. You bury what hurt you, not with hatred, but with indifference. Part 9. The Power of Unpredictability. They don't deserve a piece of your mind. They don't deserve to know what it did to you. That's your power now. They don't know you anymore. You've outgrown them. You evolved in the fire they let you burn. And here's the irony. People fear what they can't predict. You were predictable. You would always be there, always care, always respond, always forgive. But now you're gone. And they hate it. They hate the silence, the indifferent version of you, the man who doesn't blink, doesn't explain, doesn't care what they think. That version is a ghost in their guilt. They remember you, and it hurts. Let it hurt. They deserved that pain.
Part 10. The Brutal Education. Look, most people, they experience betrayal and crumble. They are lied to, used, thrown away like trash. And they melt. But not you. You cracked, yes, but you didn't shatter. You bled inside, silently. That kind of pain, the kind that doesn't make a sound, builds something else, something darker, something sharper. Because when someone breaks you, really breaks you for the first time, it's not just pain, it's education, brutal education. You start learning faces, you start learning tones, you start recognizing manipulation in a smile, and lies in a hug. Pain is the best teacher this ugly world has ever produced. Part 11. The Silent Reconstruction. They thought you'd be broken, didn't they? That's the joke. That's the irony. They thought the version of you that loved them, trusted them, gave without expecting anything in return was permanent. As if you would never turn the tables, as if you would never grow teeth. But look at you now, breathing, existing, observing, planning. Not for revenge, no, that's too easy, too predictable. You're not looking to destroy them. You're learning to destroy the version of yourself that allowed them to break you. That's where the power lies, not in screaming, not in violence. It's in the coldness you build after the fall. It's in walking past them as if they never mattered, as if their betrayal was a favor, as if their absence improved the air around you. Part 12. The Mirror of Guilt. You were never the problem. Their hunger was, their emptiness, their validation games. They needed to destroy someone to feel powerful. And you went in with an open heart and no armor. But it's over now. That version of you, the one that kept saying it's okay with blood dripping from your chest, is dead. And thank God. Let me tell you something cold, something real. They didn't break you because you were weak. They broke you because you were too strong, too bright, too pure for their dirty hands to handle. They needed to drag you down to their level just to feel like they weren't drowning alone. You became a mirror for their guilt, and you mistook that for love. But the truth? Real love doesn't drain, it builds. Real respect doesn't need explanations or reminders. And if you need to beg for it, you're in the wrong room. The fire you became. This is the world you live in, a world where your gentleness is seen as weakness, where your loyalty is currency for cowards, where your silence is mistaken for submission. But not anymore, not this time. Do you hear me? You don't crawl back into the fire that burns you. You become the fire. You become the lesson they never thought they would learn. Because let me tell you what happens when a broken man stops asking for help. He becomes dangerous. Not because he seeks revenge, but because he learns not to depend. He walks differently, talks differently, eyes like steel, heart like stone. And not out of hatred, but out of survival. Because love without limits is suicide, and trust without caution is a loaded gun pointed at your own chest. You were there. I know you were. I can see it in your eyes, the way they blink when someone mentions forever. That word. It's become a joke, hasn't it? Forever is just a delay. People say forever as if it meant something, but you've learned that forever is just a delay before goodbye. See, they thought you'd never leave. They fed on it. They drank from your soul as if it were an endless river. And when you began to dry up, when your light began to dim, they didn't ask if you were okay. They simply left. Just like that. No guilt, no shame. Just footprints leading away from the wreckage they left behind. And you were still there, ashes in your hands, a smile on your face, pretending the fire hadn't touched you. But I saw you. I see you. And I know what you've become. You've become the one they fear now, not because you're cruel, but because you've stopped needing their approval. That's the change. That's the power. When the man who was once desperate to be understood finally understands himself, he becomes unstoppable. The power of disappearance. He enters rooms and doesn't beg to be seen. He lets his silence do the talking. He lets his absence teach the lesson. He doesn't stalk, he disappears. And when they realize he's gone, it's too late. But don't confuse this with bitterness. No, no, no. This is clarity. This is rebirth. You didn't die back then. You transformed. They didn't destroy you. They built the monster they now whisper regrets about. And you owe them nothing, not even your story. Because people who made you question your worth don't deserve a front row seat to your rise. Let them sit in the cheap seats and wonder how they lost you. Let them choke on the silence. Then go ahead, burn the old script, tear down the version of you that bowed down to keep people who never learned to stand by your side. Rewrite everything, not for revenge, but for evolution.
Now let me tell you about solitude, chosen solitude. There's a brutal difference between being alone because you were abandoned and being alone because you chose peace instead of chaos. You've reached that point, haven't you, where the silence of your own company is more comforting than the noisy presence of empty people. They made you think being alone was a curse, but the truth? It's a blessing in disguise. When you're alone, no one can drain your energy. No one can plant doubts in your head. No one can use your vulnerabilities as weapons. You become your own refuge, your own fortress. And that fortress? It's impenetrable, because it was built with the stones they threw at you. Every insult became a brick. Every betrayal became cement. Every lie became steel. You're not alone because of weakness. You're alone by strategy. And that terrifies them. Because now they have no access, no entry, no power. Do you know what's fascinating about the phoenix? It's not that she rises from the ashes. It's that she needs to burn completely first, to die in order to be reborn. You burned, didn't you? Completely, to the bones, to the soul. They thought those ashes were your end, your epitaph, proof of your defeat. But they didn't understand something fundamental. Ashes are fertile. Ashes give life. Ashes are the beginning of something new. And you? You didn't just rise again. You transformed into something they don't have the mental capacity to comprehend. It's not the same material anymore. It's not the same essence anymore. You are harder now, sharper, more focused. They broke glass and expected it to remain broken, but you melted again, reformed into a diamond. And a diamond doesn't break. A diamond cuts. Let me tell you about judgment. Not the kind that happens in noisy courtrooms with judges and juries. The kind that happens in silence, in your mind, in your heart. You judged each one of them, didn't you? Not with anger, not with hatred, but with cold, calculated clarity. You revisited every moment, every broken promise, every neatly wrapped lie, every stab in the back disguised as a hug. And you arrived at the verdict. Guilty. All of them. But here's what they didn't expect. You didn't need noisy revenge. You didn't need dramatic confrontations. Your sentence was simple and devastating. Perpetual absence. They were banished from the realm of your life. No appeal, no chance of review. And that sentence? It's worse than any scream, any fight, any drama, because it means they ceased to exist in your universe. They became ghosts while still breathing. And that, my friend, is the deepest form of justice.
Every storm teaches something to those who survive it. Your storm taught you that kindness without discernment is self-destruction, that forgiveness without change is permission for more pain, that love without reciprocity is merely voluntary servitude. It taught you the difference between being alone and feeling lonely, between silence and emptiness, between strength and stubbornness. It taught you that not every battle deserves your energy, that not every person deserves your explanation, that not every situation deserves your presence. And the most important lesson? It taught you that you are much more resilient than you ever imagined. Because look at you, still breathing after everything that should have killed you, still standing after everything that should have knocked you down, still walking after everything that should have paralyzed you. You are living proof that human beings are incredibly difficult to destroy when they decide that survival is not optional. You not only survived the storm, you learned to dance in the rain, to navigate the thunder, to use lightning as light. And now, here we are, at the end of this journey, but also at the beginning of another. Because the truth is this, they didn't break you, they refined you. Every pain was a hammer on the anvil. Every betrayal was fire in the forge. Every tear was water tempering the steel. You are not the victim of your story. You are the survivor, the warrior, the victor. And your legacy? It will not be defined by what they did to you. It will be defined by what you did afterward. It will be defined by the strength you built, by the wisdom you gained, by the person you became. They gave you pain, you transformed it into power. They gave you darkness, you found your own light. They gave you loneliness, you built an empire. The moment they thought they had destroyed you was the same moment they unknowingly set you free. They freed you from illusion, from fantasy, from the prison of false hope. Now, you see people clearly. No more romanticizing empty promises. No more excuses for glaring red flags. You see the truth, and once you see it, you never stop seeing it. That's the curse and the blessing. But most importantly, it's freedom. Freedom to be who you truly are. No masks, no excuses, no fear. Because in the end, the question was never, why did they break you? The question was always, what are you going to do now that you're free? And the answer, you will walk, you will build, you will win. In silence, with purpose, unstoppable. They broke you once, never again.